So I actually want to replace my internal SSD, M.2 SSD storage in my PlayStation 5. I have a 1 terabyte M.2 SSD in that PS5. But the purpose of that video is actually not to tell you how to install that. It's more, I didn't find a video how to transfer the data from the internal M.2 SSD to the new one. Now my plan is gonna be the following. I'm gonna take out the old one, then I'm gonna install this one. Once the new one is installed, I'm gonna copy all the data from the internal SSD to the new one. Then I'll take this one out, erase all the data on the internal SSD. Then I'll put the old one in again, and then I'll transfer all the data from the old one to the internal SSD storage, which should be empty by then because it's already copied to the new one. And once that's done, I'm going to take out the old M.2 SSD, finally put in the new one again, and then I transfer all the data from the internal SSD for a second time to this one. And so I should be able to transfer the data, because it's 1 terabyte, so I don't want to download all the software which is on this one, right? So that doesn't make sense, or it would take me forever, and I'm pretty sure that should work, and therefore you would not need a computer or something else. So you can just do it if you have a PS5, and I'm gonna try that out. My video capture card is actually broken, so I'm not sure if I want to capture the process, but it's actually just to prove, or also for me to prove, if that idea I had works, but I see no reason why it should not work. So first of all, I'll take the old one out, and I'm gonna use that one later in my computer. So my computer is actually desperate to get an upgrade. So that's actually the old one, and we need it once again, once we replaced it with a new one, to copy that data over. So as I said, what I'm going to do now, I'm installing the new one first, and once the new one is installed, I copy all the data from the internal PlayStation storage on this one. So that's the new one, right? It's more or less the same size, and I'm gonna pop it in now. And then I'm pretty sure it's gonna automatically format it, which should be not a problem as far as I remember. And once that's done, I'll copy it over. Okay, so alright, new one is installed in here. As you can see, this one, that's the old one. Now I'll leave it cracked open. I hope it kind of works that way. And then I'm gonna transfer, as I said, the data from the internal hard drive to this one. Then I'm gonna clean or erase everything on the internal hard drive. Then I'll copy it here. I'll take this one out. Now I'll take the old one again, put it in here, copy the contents of this one to the internal hard drive. And then I'll do it just again, and then I should be good. I've attached the new one, and first, of course, we have to format it. Let's do that real quick. That's actually pretty fast with the new SSDs, and you can see you can actually run your PS5 cracked open, so that makes it easier. Has a pretty good read speed. That's perfect. Rebuilding database. Okay, that's not really important. And as I said, what I'm gonna do now, I'm just transferring all the data from the internal storage, which should be here, let's go on this one, games and apps. Okay, so next thing you want to do is, and it's hard filming and doing that with one hand, select items to move, and then we're gonna hit here, select all, and then we go over here, and then you see, I hope you can see that, M.2 SSD storage. So this one, we're gonna move it there, and what you can see, it should be a pretty fast process. And now you see it's moving 468 gigabytes over, and it says it takes over 6 minutes. But just imagine you would have to download all of that, how long that would take. So, but I guess I made the point clear. Once that's moved over, I have internal storage free, and then we just change out the internal SSD once more. We take that out because then the data is here. Then we have the old one, which is here. I'll put that in again, and then I transfer the data back to the internal storage, and then I'll do the same process I just showed you guys again. And once that's done, you easily could copy your old M.2 SSD, which is here, and copy that over to the new one. So there's no computer, no nothing needed. The only thing, it's a little bit inconvenient. You have to crack it open, you have to copy it from A to B to C. But I'd say that's an easy solution, and I just thought I'll share that with you. Sorry that I didn't have a good camera gear available today. So copying is actually done, and you see the console storage, it's almost empty. I'm saying almost because there's always some things remaining. No clue why. It still says that there is one game remaining. I don't actually care about that. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna put the old one in again there, and then I'll copy the contents from the old one to the internal storage. Right now it reads 667.2 gigabyte. That's actually more or less what I have on the old one here, so that should work fine. Once that's done, I'm gonna show you the result. So let's just go to the M.2. So right now you see the M.2 has a free space of 1.53 terabytes. Now this should change later to an additional 500, I guess, once we did the copy. And once that's done, we should be good. Now, maybe you could even transfer that to an external USB, which I have, but that would take forever and ever, right? But if you copy from SSD to SSD, let's say the M.2 SSD or the internal, it's super fast, and you just have to change the memory real quick. So I'd say that's a better and faster way. Now we changed the SSDs to the old one, and of course I do not have to mention, I guess, that you have to pull the power plug and shut it down before you do that, I guess. So rebuilding database, that's always when you plug in a new hard drive, it always, for whatever reason, rebuilds the database, so don't worry about that. And full disclosure, that's just the way I do it. I'm not sure if that's a recommended way to copy the data, but well, because I was actually thinking the whole day, how do I'm actually copying the data, but then I just had that idea. Okay, we go back to system storage. Now you see the console storage is still empty. Now we go to the M.2, and you see that's pretty full. It's actually, there is more on there than the internal storage can hold. It is what it is. And just go there and see what we have. Now you just click on either game and then select items to move. Now let's just see how much we still can move. Yeah, we still have a little bit to move. And there's still something we can move over. We maybe have to do that 2 times. So there is still 55 left on the internal. And then we can move this one, and now it's 35 left. And you know what, let's do the small stuff real quick. 38, so that one's not going. I don't want to have this one. 34, 84, it's crazy these file sizes nowadays, right? So since that's not working, let's just move over all the small stuff. And then unfortunately I have to do that again. Well, it is what it is. And now we have that, and now hit the button move. Yes, I want to move it. And then so it's moving that over again. And then the final step would be we put in the new one and then move it from the internal again to the new SSD, right? And then I unfortunately have to do it once more, as you could see, because the internal storage, it's not 1 terabyte actually, it's 800 something. But then you have system updates and whatever, so the remaining space, it's actually like just 600 gigabytes instead of 1 terabyte. Anyways, I had to do it twice. So that's the final step. Now I'm moving all the rest data from the original M.2 SSD over to the internal storage. What I realized, the new one, the Samsung one I have, the new one, that's way faster, so it maybe just takes to get all that from the internal storage to this one 4 or 5 minutes. Here it actually, from the old internal M.2 SSD to the internal storage, it takes like 30 minutes. I don't know why that is. I guess that one is just way faster than the old one I have, which I kind of like, so that's a good benefit. And I'm pretty sure I will have insane game loading times or game loading speeds, I hope, once I install the new one and get rid of the old one. And actually that's proof that it works, my concept. And you don't need a PC, you don't have to do these huge downloads like 1 terabyte, download all of that again. So yeah, that's it. Okay, so we moved all over. As you can see, the final portion of data is now on the internal storage. What we are going to do now, we're gonna transfer that to the new drive. So that would mean that my internal storage would be more or less empty. Now let's select all what's available, go to move, do the same. You see, these are the last games which we need to move over. And that maybe takes a while, so it says 5 minutes, and as I said before, with the new faster SSD, it's pretty like 4 or 5 times faster transferring the data from the storage, internal storage, to the M.2 SSD. I can actually not say why that is, but anyways, now I transferred all the data from the internal storage and from the external M.2 SSD to the new SSD, which means the new SSD is full, with almost full already with 2 terabytes, sorry, but which means at least I have the internal storage of my PlayStation without any data, which should be enough for many other games. And I have an external USB drive as well, but as far as I know, that just works for PS4 titles or older like legacy titles. Thanks for watching.